Brown lets it fly. Bottom, a three.
From behind, knocking it away. Tatum cashes in.
Prichard got it back inside.
What's up, everyone, and welcome in to your Celtics source, home of your 1-1 preseason Boston Celtics. And we just watched a ridiculously sloppy game from the Celtics. And yes, Jaylen Brown sat out, Sam Hauser sat out, Derek White sat out after playing on Wednesday. But we did get to see Payton Pritchard, Anfernee Simons making his debut, and there were lots of positives. I thought Pritchard played really well, like we have come to expect. I thought Simons made contributions on the defensive end besides his productive offensive performance. But just the rebounding and the defense, and Simons was not, I think, a big part of this, but, the centers, Joe Mazzulla, we saw the first time he did a hockey substitution, subbing all five guys out. He did this multiple times in the game when he just thought that, in order to get stops and get rebounds, which has become the Celtics' biggest issue over these last couple of games. And I didn't actually expect that to be a problem coming into the season, but it seems like it's going to be now, because you can't get out and play that fast-paced transition offense that the Celtics want to play if you can't get the stops and hold on to the ball, right? And the Celtics, they were up. I think they got a 27-point lead, and then, Joe Mazzulla pulls, some of his top guys that he played in this game and just went to the deep bench, and the Raptors came all the way back and won this game, actually, after some just passes and balls that the Celtics just threw away in the other team's half. I think the last couple of plays, Amari Williams threw one out of bounds, or he dropped it on a dribble handoff. There was one play where Anfernee Simons just threw the ball out of bounds. And yes, I think we have to live with, the ups and downs of some of the rookies and, some of the guys that have not played much. This is going to be a big year for proving that confidence and getting them up to NBA speed. But you can't be getting that stuff from an Anfernee Simons and Amari Williams. And Amari Williams is a rookie, and I don't actually think he's going to make the starting team, as evident by, or he'll start in the G League, I think, as evident by the fact that he hasn't been, playing big minutes here in preseason or up close to any of the, minutes of the other starting centers. This was also a game where they played a lot less, or Joe Mazzulla played a lot less Xavier Tillman. I thought that was interesting. Xavier Tillman, he did play 19 minutes, but it was a lot less compared to the 25 minutes that he played in Game 1. But as for the defense, I think Anfernee Simons, he has gotten, we didn't get to see much of him last season, over the last couple of seasons, given that he played in Portland, right? And we don't get a lot of those games. Those games are not on, television when we're looking to watch television, right? They're on late at night after most of us go to bed, right? So we didn't get to see much of Anfernee Simons. We knew coming in he was going to be a key offensive piece for this team, right? Some say the Celtics were lucky to get back such an offensive talent for Jrue Holiday. And we did see that, right? Tonight, he scored 18 points in 26 minutes. Didn't have a great shooting night, just 2 of 7 from 3, 6 of 13 overall. But I thought he was great on playmaking and getting other guys involved. And we did see that he is a score-first player. And I'm not saying he's selfish or anything. He did say, he's willing to come off the bench, and he's, after starting every single game of his career, he's probably going to come off the bench to start, right? That might change as the season goes on, but he's going to come off the bench, and he's going to have to make the most of it. And I thought he did so tonight, because if he's coming off the bench, he's going to have to be, that lead scorer of that second unit. And I thought he did so well tonight. But that defense, and he's been working on it all preseason, and I complimented him at the top of the show. I thought he did a great job on defense. Staying in front of guys, staying in, not sticking your hand in and trying to steal the ball when you don't need to, causing little fouls and stuff like that. Stuff you can avoid, right? If Payton Pritchard has a guy locked up, you don't have to be sticking your hands in. And he didn't do that tonight, which was a great sign of someone who is improving on that defensive end. Yet, they didn't play against really any of the top in terms of point guard talent or team talent, right? The Raptors, they didn't play. They're not playing with. Obviously, they're not playing with. Any of their top guys: Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley. They were all out, right? Just resting and whatever. Right, so you're playing against guys that are probably below the level you'll be playing against if you're leading that second unit, per se, right? And so I think Anfernee Simons has to continue to work on that. But he was by far the least of the worries tonight when it came to defense. I mean, just Hugo Gonzalez, Luka Garza, Josh Minot, Chris Boucher could not rebound a ball to save their lives to start that game. And yes, they got up big, the team on the Raptors, and then the Raptors started to crawl back into this game because of the same problems that had flawed them to start the game. Right, we see this in terms of the rebounding. The team had 34 rebounds compared to the Celtics 54 rebounds, but out of those, 35 defensive, 15. You know what? I mean, it just looked like every single time it would be, a scramble to get to the ball. Even if they got it, it would bounce around. They couldn't come down with it cleanly. And I'm not sure what the problem is, because it's not... They have the height, right? They're not getting... The ball's not coming... They're not getting basically mossed and the other team grabbing rebounds over the top of them. The ball is landing in their hands, and then it's just like they can't catch the ball or something. Like, I don't know what's going on, but it feels like this team just has no way to get the limited stops that they're going to get this season without the rebounding, right? That's probably the biggest X factor now that I think about it. And so I'm not going to keep drilling on this. I think it's going to improve as the season goes on, but just something to, watch in the next couple of preseason games. And Joe Mazzulla has been urgent about it, right? He's been subbing guys out when they can't grab a rebound. He did a full five-man hockey rotation, like I mentioned earlier, because the team couldn't get these rebounds. But I'll move on here because, there's not much more to say about it. If you can't get a rebound, you're not going to win games. It's really as simple as that. Let's talk more about Anfernee Simons and what he could bring to the table offensively. I think he can be very similar to a Payton Pritchard in the fact that if Payton Pritchard's starting, Simons can lead that second unit, and you're not going to lose much offensively when the second unit goes on. Because this team is going to be pretty good when Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Payton Pritchard, and, maybe a Sam Hauser, other guys filling in that starting unit. It's going to be a pretty good team. But we all know they're not going to be playing 40 minutes a night to ensure that this team wins, right? They're going to be playing in the 30s. And so there's going to be times when those three are not all on the court together. Maybe it's only one of them on the court. I think there'll be one at all times. I think Joe Mazzulla is going to stagger it, but that also means you get less time of all three of them together at the same time, which is your best offense and defense, right? Your best team is when all three of them are on the court, but if Joe staggers it, then you get less of that. And if he doesn't stagger it, then you get an opportunity where Simmons is maybe the only guy on the court, and he has to lead both the offensive and defensive, ends for the Celtics, right? And so Simmons has to be able to take on, while he might not be the main scorer on this team like he was in Portland, he's going to have a role that he's not quite used to, which is being able to hold it down when you are maybe the only talented guy out there. Now, I'm not saying there's not going to be other talented guys, but you are the main offense. You're the engine for the offense, right? Because Sam Hauser, he's a elite shooter, but he's not making the offense. He's not driving the offense. He's the one that, capitalizes on a good offensive possession, right? The same with, a Keita or a Boucher or a Garza, right? Point guards are the ones that are driving the offense when a Jaylen Brown is not on the court. And so, can Simmons take that role as the facilitator for that unit too? What else here? We talked about Simmons. Prichard, picking up right where he left off. What do you have? 19 points in 26 minutes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal. An okay shooting night from him, 7 of 17, 3 of 8 overall. It feels like he was just getting back in the flow. Took a little too many shots than maybe he needed to. But he looked good in terms of running the offense, which is what you're gonna need from him because. I think, just like I said with Simmons, he's also going to have opportunities where he's the only one out there. He doesn't have a Tatum out there to help him out, right? We saw last year the second unit for the Celtics was really good, but that's always because you had Tatum and then a bunch of bench players, right? And Tatum and Prichard could work well together to create offense. But you're not going to have that because, I don't think they're not going to play the same way that they played where, they stagger Brown and Tatum because Tatum's not, available. He did, by the way, side note, he did dunk in practice the other day, which, I don't know what that means for his return, but it's kind of freaky that he's already dunking 5 months in. Like, that seems like something that would be later down the road, but, little do I know. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up as... we're going to do a full podcast episode reaction to both this game and the Memphis game and the biggest takeaways. Number one on that list is the rebounding, of course. But before I wrap this up, I will quickly talk about Boucher. I just talked about the defense and how he has to do a better job of rebounding the ball. But on offense, I thought he has looked really good, being aggressive, cleaning up on the offensive glass, doing what he should be doing on the defensive end, but doing it on the offensive end. Some of these, he had a great play, I think it was from Prichard, where he goes backdoor for a little, bounce pass from Prichard and a big dunk. I thought he's been really good at bringing the energy, bringing the aggressiveness, providing a spark for the team, which I think help them get out to that 27-point lead. Part of that collapse is, just Joe Mazzulla putting in the deep bench at that point, which I think is a good learning moment for this team. But you definitely do need to get more out of, maybe a Sheierman, right? Sheierman, 25 minutes, 4 points, 0 for 3, 2 of 9 overall. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, right? So he was dishing the ball out. But I think the Celtics are counting on Sheierman, especially in his second year here. And after that, leap that he had towards the end of the year last year, to be a key contributor on this team. And it's looked like so far for the first 2 games, he hasn't looked great. And I know that could change, but it just looks like, he can't find a shot. Something's not right with him. And that's a problem because there's nothing really. Sheierman, I think, is that, that sort of benchmark for the Celtics depth rotation, right? He has to contribute because there's not much behind him in terms of at the forward and, guard position. And so, him, Walsh, they have to be able to contribute. Walsh, if he can't do anything this year, I mean, it's his 3rd year in the season, 3rd year in the league. At this point, he has to do something, or, at that point, I might add him to a trade package, because, he's not going to be part of your future if you can't get anything from them. I have more confidence in Sheierman, just because I think Sheierman can be a better shooter than Walsh is, and can play more of that point guard position if he needs to. But we have yet to see it from either. But I'm going to wrap it up here. We will be back tomorrow night with a podcast episode. Talk about this game. Talk about the Grizzlies game. Some other news around the NBA. Remember, you can check out all the podcast episodes on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow on social media, Instagram, TikTok, where we do highlights, reactions, clips from the Celtics, from NBA content, as we are less than 2 weeks here before the start of the regular season. As for post-game shows, I will be back Sunday night after the Celtics have their preseason home opener against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, until next time, go Celtics.
Brown lets it fly. Bottom, a 3.
From behind, knocking it away. Tatum cashes in.
Prichard got it back inside. And 1. Brown lets it fly. Bottom, a 3.
From behind, knocking